You're listening to the On-Call Empath Show.
We are back for another episode, but not just any episode, the second season. And this is my first guest, Nancy, who is from Italy. She was born in South Italy, and she's also lived in Rome for 10 years. She has a food blog, but she's also an expert narcissist coach. She kind of does a little bit what I do, but like she's more experienced with the narcissist side of things. So it's a pleasure having you on the On-Call Empath. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love that you are interviewing me on this topic. It's very important.
Absolutely. And I've been following your Instagram, and it's just a lot of the stuff that you put on there is very inspirational. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on this podcast is you seem to have a good grasp of narcissist abuse, but you also have personal experience from your ex and previous people in your lives. And so let me ask you, how did you end up being a coach and focusing on just narcissism?
Well, at the beginning, when you realize you are a victim of narcissistic abuse, you kind of have this breakthrough. So you start having a whole totally different perspective on life and people's psychology and, their behavior and what they mean and how they affect you in your life.
Yeah.
So you start realizing that people, for them to succeed, they have to learn how to handle the narcissistic traits in our society, not just at the personal level, at the individual level, but also at the society and nation level. Like there are a lot of levels where our world completely revolves around dependency and narcissism and manipulation at every level. So once you discover that side, you realize that in fact it's totally necessary for survival.
Yeah. And it could happen to anyone. I mean, you've got a PhD and you're a scientist, correct? How did you end up going this route? That's pretty impressive.
Exactly, because in the end, so this is a side thing for me. I do work as a scientist at USC right now, but unfortunately, especially in science and academia, and maybe it's also fortunate for me because in the end it pushes me to do more and more in this field. Unfortunately, the environment is extremely narcissistic because academia is a very hierarchical kind of system, and it's all about lobbies and networking and knowing the right person. So narcissists are in their perfect environment in academia, unfortunately. And plus all these things of the very highly competitive funding system, it's all the perfect environment for them, especially because imagine as a scientist, most of what we do is bench work. And so you don't have to develop interrelational skills. You don't need to be good with people. You don't need, to be nice. You actually, if you are a gaslighter, if you are a manipulator, if you are a plotter, you are the best place. So there are a lot, unfortunately. So as an empath, being in academia means you are surrounded by narcissists your whole life.
Well, yeah, and also in the workforce. I mean, I can speak from experience. I mean, just in my last couple jobs that I used to do, I mean, I was surrounded by narcissists, and I was always ask myself, how does this person with no social skills end up owning this business, or how are they, a manager above me, or things like that? Because here I am, I'm fully I have great credentials. I went to college. I have 10 years of experience in business and coaching. And then all of a sudden they put a narcissist in front of me with just a high school diploma. And they're like, he's your boss now. And so it's like they kind of raise to that level. And once you're in that power, it seems like you can find a lot of narcissists in a power position. I mean, whether they're doctors, business owners, people everywhere.
All lobbies or elites, unfortunately, are narcissists, are predators, all of them. And not just, unfortunately, who gets there on purpose. Like because these people are like, when I was with my ex-husband, I used to tell him, without even knowing he was a narcissist, I used to tell him that he reminded me of an arrow. Like I didn't realize I had a plot, he had a goal, but I felt he had a goal all the time. We were together. Everything he was doing, he was just going straight towards something that I did not know what it was, but I felt it was not in the moment. It was always plotting towards something. And that's how they are. And so if you're an arrow, you move a lot faster than people that don't have a goal, that don't know what they're doing. They're just enjoying life.
Yeah.
And this is in everything. And we see the same kind of dynamics at the national level. Nations like Mexico, like Africa, like Italy too, and Europe, where people know how to enjoy life and also care about enjoying life. And so they're not just arrows, they're just, like rivers. They just enjoy their life. Are oftentimes abused by other nations that are extremely narcissistic, including the United States.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, it's a very we live in a world where narcissism and narcissistic behavior and traits are the main thing you should know for you to navigate the world. But unfortunately, too many people have interest in not telling you about that, because if you wake up from the matrix, then you're not of use anymore. You're just out of the system and they can't use anymore to climb the ladder, because that's what these people do. These people recognize people that are not aware and they use them to step up, you know? So the more people you have that wake up, the fewer of those people you have. And then the more you have to evolve new mechanisms, new strategies. Yeah.
And then, it's just funny because I've had so many narcissist coaches and people talking about this subject. And it's getting more popular out there because we're finding out there is a big population of these narcissists running around in jobs, and it could be your husband, your wife, it could be anyone. There's no cookie cutter, like they have this trait. It could be anybody out there. And the people that I thought that was the least, ended up being a narcissist because they're so cunning in the beginning. I love a quote that you put on your Instagram. It's like a chess game, which we're born to lose. Can you explain that? Because I really, really enjoy that quote.
Well, these narcissistic people are extremely Machiavellians, which means they're plotters. They always have a plan. They always try to. So when in their mind, their world is a huge chess game. It's a huge chessboard, and you're just a piece of it. You're just a pawn. Either they can use you, or they can eat you, or you're just an enemy for them. So that's how they see the world. And unfortunately, we are set to lose because we don't know the rules, because we don't live it. We live in a game we don't know that exists. So how can you win at a game that you're not playing? You're just part of it, being blind about it. So you can't win unless you actually play by the rules, or you withdraw yourself from the game, but you have to know that you're in a game. That's why otherwise you're just set to lose. But this is from forever. We're talking about, the ancient Roman Empire was playing, like every empire played games with the lay people around, because they had to make sure these people did not understand. They were just being used to fight for wars, to make food, to do things. And then the elite is always in their castle and they don't actually do anything, but they need to survive, and they need to mute. They need for you to not be aware of what they're doing, because otherwise you'll be like, what, like you're living in your castle and now you're making me to work and you're paying me,
It's probably one of the reasons why, not just the US, but not to make this political, but all over the world, there's been a balance of power difference. And I think that's why a lot of people are suffering, and more people are coming out. People like yourselves, podcasts, we're uncovering these types of people because it is a mental illness. It's a mental illness. And I'm not a psychologist, but I can see certain spectrums just by talking to somebody, their patterns and what they do. They might not be a full-blown narcissist, but they have a spectrum that they fall into. What is your take on that? Do you think we all have a little piece maybe of narcissism in all of us just from birth?
I think narcissism is based on ego, which is something we evolved for. I'll give you a very scientific point of view on this, but it's gonna be like easy to understand.
Yeah.
So first of all, we are also our genes. Okay, so the reason why we evolve things is because for our genes, those things are somewhat good for their survival, right? So that's why they're here. That's why we are here, because we are the product of our genes. At the same time, though, we are not just our genes anymore. Maybe it was like that thousands of years ago when we were just animals, but now we're just people with a conscience.
Sure.
We are rational, we are analytical people, we are emotional people. So we can't just be our genes. However, for our genes to survive, they had to kind of evolve the ego, which means every time you do something that somewhat gives you survival and more survival than others, they make you survive better than others. For example, when you exploit others, when you exploit people, you're going to have an advantage, right? And so your ego is fed because your genes need you to keep moving forward and do the same thing again and again, because it works for them. But it doesn't work for you because you're going to be a bad person. However, for your genes, perfect, because by exploiting others, you're going to have an advantage over them. You're going to have more kids. You're going to survive longer. You're going to have better jobs. And so our ego is set for us to keep doing things that are in fact socially unacceptable, but good for us as individuals, right? So this is the first thing. Second thing, narcissism is an illness. And why? Because narcissism comes from living in fear. So people that have narcissistic personality disorder, they are guided and driven by the amygdala, basically. The amygdala is a part of your brain that is the one that handles and triggers the fight or flight mode. So if you are in a dangerous environment, even an animal, like we're talking about things that evolved when we were still animals.
Right.
If you're an animal and if you had to survive and you're surrounded by lions, everything for you is just a chess game because you're fighting for survival. Your only purpose is not to love and to enjoy life and to enjoy people around you, because otherwise you die. The only purpose you have is to survive, and everything becomes a piece of a chess game because you need to survive. So narcissists are people that just live in that fear, and they think because they were born in a dangerous environment, they were born in a place where their parents were narcissistic, were abusive, were psychological abusive. So this is the cave myth of Plato. This is your reality. You don't know there's anything out there. This is your reality. So they were born in that situation. And so they are set on the fight or flight mode 100% of the time. These are people that are hyper vigilant for their whole life. And it's a chess game the whole time. So they are incapable of loving because they are surviving for their whole life. And even when they reach career success and whatever, they're never happy because they're still, that fear comes from the inside, comes from themselves. So it's not that they feel safe, but they're looking for a safe place. So unfortunately, the only way to win against narcissistic people is to create a welfare system, is to create a safety net in the nation so that people are not born in a dangerous environment. They know they can be saved. And that's why there are countries like Mexico and Italy, for example, that are very family oriented and they have a good welfare and people know they're safe. And there are a lot more empathetic people there than in other countries like the United States, Korea, or places, because they have a safety net and they know that whatever happens, they're going to be fine in some way. And so they don't have to live in fear. They don't have to be in their survival mode, and they're capable of loving themselves and others. Narcissistic people don't love anyone, not even themselves.
They're not capable of. And I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of empaths that are listening out there, and the ones that write me in on emails, they've had a lot of issues with their relationships and bosses. And I think empaths, because we feel so much and we want to do good things for others, we're a prime target for narcissism. So I want to ask you, what is someone to do if you're just a giving person by nature, you're an empath, or maybe just a regular person, maybe been through some trauma in your life, and you have a husband or a boss or a wife or somebody that's controlling you, but you can't really get out. What are some of the things that tools that someone could be using right now? If you can give some examples.
Tools in the sense of like books or things like that, or
Yeah,
like
like is there anywhere that we could, like, people could go? I know you mentioned like institutional places and groups, and I know there's a ton of resources on Facebook where it's like people that have been abused, narcissist abuse survivors group. So I mean, because there's a lot of people listening right now and they just don't have anywhere to go. I mean, a lot of the clients that I do coach, they have, I would say 90% of them have been through narcissist abuse. It just seems like the empaths continue to attract these people. What can we do to shield ourselves, to at least be aware that, okay, I need to be careful and watch the red flags?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm the kind of person that relies on self-help a lot. Like I don't
Sure.
ask. Even when I broke up with my ex-husband, I did it by myself. I didn't go to a psychologist. But what I did was I listened to videos on YouTube 24 hours all the time for days and days, because I had to get out of the narcissistic reality. That's the first thing to do, because they manipulate you so much that then you are subscribing a reality that is not real. It's just the reality they want you to subscribe. So first thing you have to do is to definitely get out of that reality and get back to yourself and understand that the reason why they target you is because you're better than them. It's because you are a good person. The reason why they target you is because in a system that is a fraud, you're the only real one. And if you realize that's a fraud, you can be a whistleblower and be like,
Yeah.
this is fraud. So people that are a fraud don't want you to blow the whistle. And
Yeah,
so that's what
absolutely.
the empaths are, the whistleblowers, like in a group of sheep, right? We have a crucial role in our society because we are the ones that tell everybody there is a predator.
Mhm.
So we're the ones that can save everybody else, that instead will never wake up from the reality where they're just going towards massacre, right? So we are precious, and that's why I try to shoot you
Yeah.
down. And you think about this, right? I think this is something that really drives you to do better for yourself and to want better for yourself. When people spend so much time and so much energy manipulating you, pushing you down, pushing you aside and whatever, it means you have potential. Otherwise, why would they spend all that much time and effort and energy to push you down? So we have to understand, first of all, we are better than these people, and not better in a narcissistic, ego-feeding way.
Sure.
Better in the, we want the best for everybody. And if you want the best for everybody, you are better than people that just want the best for them, first of all. So you have to push yourself to emerge from these people, from this reality, because your purposes are virtuous, your purposes are good, and you deserve, and the world needs you to succeed.
Absolutely. And
this is the first thing, to realize that you have to survive because you're better, because these people convince you all the time that you don't have any value, you have no worth, you're bad. So we believe in these things. But if anyone, would you do that? Would you convince your friends, that they're bad people, even if they were? No, right? You will try to save them. You will try to teach them how to get better. So anytime anyone tries to convince you of the opposite, that person is trying to exploit you for a reason, because they need something from you. So my resources will be watch videos on YouTube, be part of groups on narcissistic abuse on Facebook or Instagram. Instagram, there are a lot of pages that are interested in empaths or also narcissistic abuse, psychology, definitely, because most of the people that are victims are also spend their whole life taking care of narcissistic people, so they never focus on themselves and their own self growth. So you definitely need to start dedicating as much time as you can to yourself. And third, get rid of the guilt. These people don't have good purposes. If anyone tries to exploit you, they deserve the worst. And with this doesn't mean that you have to be revengeful. It means that you don't have to have empathy with these people, because if you do, they're just try to exploit you. So you can have empathy only with empaths. That's it. Everybody else, you can only establish an exchange with them when you put boundaries and you set your standards, as long as they do what you ask and what you want, they stay in your life. If they don't, train them like dogs. You give them the carrot when they do something good. You give them the stick when they do something bad. And you don't have to feel guilty because people are like bugs. They function with a very simple neuronal system. They do things trying to exploit you all the time, and they kind of like poke you until they find a hole.
Right.
That's what they do.
And that's a very good point. And I just want all my listeners to know, a lot of you guys have written to me recently. This is not a weakness. And it may seem like you're weak or they have the upper hand, but that's not the case. We are so much powerful than somebody who has no heart and soul and all they're here on this planet. Imagine living through this whole life trying to manipulate and get your way all the way to your deathbed. And what have you to show? You have nothing to show. You've done nothing to leave your legacy, but to hurt people. I mean, I don't wish the worst on my worst enemy, but I will say this, all of you guys that have been through some sort of trauma, abuse, I mean, there is hope. I mean, you're hearing it from one of the best coaches. She's very good at, assertiveness, boundaries, all that stuff on your Instagram. I've heard a lot of that. And these are the things that we need to learn as empaths, because I feel like as empaths, we don't use all of our powers and we just kind of shut down or go into a freeze or flight mode when we are in the presence of these types of people. I've had it at my last job. I've had them all through my life, through these companies, these corporate companies where they're always on top. You see it on the news. It's time where you need to know what's going on and how to protect yourself. You don't have to be vicious and try to attack them back, but you do need to know how to survive during these times. It's just like you said, it's a chess game.
Yeah, it's a chess game. And, it's not, again, attack. I always tell people attack is the best defense, but not in the sense that attacking others is better than being defensive. In the sense that going towards your goals is the best way to defend yourself. Just stop defending, because if you spend time defending,
gray rock all the way.
they're gonna decide your path. Because if you defend from people that attack you, in the end, they're leading you. They're leading you wherever they want. Instead, if you go towards your goal and nothing can change your path, nothing can change your way, which is what narcissistic people do, but they do it for their own individualistic ways.
Sure.
If you just go towards your goals, which is the well-being of everybody, starting a business that people, brings well-being or whatever you want to do, improving yourself, just do it and don't allow anything to change your path. Nothing, because you have to know that you're doing something good. You're doing something for yourself and for other people. Even self-improvement is something you do for everybody, because we need to be healthy to be living together in a healthier way, right?
Yeah.
Definitely, in that sense, yes.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I get a lot of especially clients where they're trapped. They can't go because they have kids with a narcissist, or maybe they don't have kids, but they need financial support. And to all those people, just know that your time will come. You may be suffering and you've suffered all your life, but just by listening to this podcast tells me that, you've been following me, that you are in the right path. You do care and you are woke. You know what to do to kind of get your self free and survive in the future, because there will be better days. And I want to leave that note on a positive note. But Nancy, before we take off here, can you just leave one advice that I guess that you can leave with somebody that's maybe gone through narcissist abuse and they're in the healing process? What can you leave with that person that's listening right now? Put you right on the spot.
That, love yourself. You just have to realize you're a great person. All the stuff that they told you are not real,
Yeah.
That's the most important
part. Self-love is critical, guys. And I stress this in all my clients, and it's not easy to do. Maybe just do one good thing for yourself each and every day. Learn to put yourself first. and then you'll learn to love yourself. And eventually, especially after abuse, it's like you don't have a sense of self. You don't know which direction you're to go to. By listening to this, you're on the right path and you're at least doing something positive, or else you wouldn't have no clue. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Nancy, before we take off, can you just tell us where we can find you on social media? You have an excellent IG page. If you can just let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on Instagram as Game Changers and also on Facebook as Game Changers. You can find me at underscore game underscore changers underscore 00, because that was the only name left for Game and same thing for Instagram. The page name is Game Changers, and I also have a YouTube channel called Game Changers as well, and it's all have the same profile picture, so it's easy to kind of connect the dots and see that it's always me. And also I interview people in my YouTube channel, so there are plenty of videos there for you guys to try and understand how the world works. So thank you so much for this interview. I love it, and for existing, because empaths, we are lucky empaths, because without us, this world will not go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you. It's been an honor. You're always welcome back. I'd love to work with you. And again, wealth of knowledge, guys. Check out her Game Changing page. I know that I go there for motivation, and I take a lot of your quotes too. So
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, guys. I want to thank you for tuning in and all the love and support. I know I just passed 100 episodes. So I want to thank each and every one of you that's been writing in and being with me on this journey. I do have some open coaching coming up in September. So if you guys are interested, let me know, hit me up. In the meantime, always keep moving forward, and we're always with you. Love you. Have a great one.
You're listening to the On-Call Empath.